Wake up, everybody. Welcome into Redacted on this Tuesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we follow the truth wherever it leads us. We don't have an agenda. And we've got a lot of stories we're going to get to on today's show. We're going to talk about the very latest in Ukraine. It looks like, well, I don't know why. It seems like Ukraine is ready to provoke and start a war, declare a war on Hungary. That is what the Hungarian officials are saying today, and we're going to look at the very latest on that, plus Zelensky demanding over $1 billion from NATO in perpetuity to fund his war effort. What about peace talks? We're going to talk about that today.
We're going to talk about how the UK economy is on the brink of collapse. If you live in the UK, you know this. It's horrible there. It's really hard to live. Also, the Democrats have decided that John Bolton is their new hero, Death Eater. John Bolton, coup leader, John Bolton. Warmonger. This is crazy. Now, they're upset that John Bolton is the target of an FBI raid. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whether or not you should be able to burn the flag. We're going to talk about whether or not the new Epstein book is a fraud or not. We got a lot to talk about. Buckle up.
We've got a lot to get to today on the show. So let us know where you're joining us from. If you are new to the show and you're subscribed, your name will pop up on the big screen here, right in front of us here. So
hey, Clayton, Fox News just did a whole segment from commercial break to commercial break. Oh, I'm sorry, I left my phone here. About Taylor Swift's engagement.
Thank God.
This is Fox News alert about how Taylor Swift got engaged to one of the Kelsey boys. I don't give a crap which one.
Well, then that means the Philadelphia Eagles will win the Super Bowl once again this year.
Why does that mean that?
Because, you know, they crapped the bed when she was always hanging around this year.
Okay.
Yeah, the Chiefs.
Sure.
You know, so that's what I'm hoping for.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So full segment, like
Great.
Literally a whole segment. We are not going to do that. This is not the place for that. If you're interested in that, you can go to her Instagram.
Okay.
So.
Well, good. Well,
we're not
going to talk about Taylor Swift.
Look
but we
how
are.
Surprised you are.
I know. I'm really thrilled about this. But we got a lot of news to get to. Our guest is in, so we're going to get to that in a moment. But first,
we want to tell you about our friends over at American Financing, because if you've been living on credit cards just to cover groceries, gas, and bills, well, you know those interest rates are brutal. Why keep paying 20% or more to the banks when you can call our friends at American Financing? They have mortgage rates in the 5s, and they're showing people every day how to leverage your assets and in order to keep more of your hard-earned money, keep that money in your pocket and out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save an average of $800 a month by using their home equity to wipe out high-interest debt with no upfront fees, no obligation, just a 10-minute call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. And here's the kicker. If you start today, you probably can delay 2 mortgage payments. That means you're not paying your monthly house fee every month for 2 months, putting more cash in your hands right away. So don't wait. Call them. See what you can do. 866-890-8434 or head on over to americanfinancing.net/redacted. One more time, that's americanfinancing.net/redacted.
So many people in the chat say that, well, this will lead to Taylor Swift writing a whole album about it when the relationship goes south.
I was thinking this very same thing. I hate to be cynical, but I figure the new album's coming out. People know then they're getting an album about enthused love, and then they will be able to sell another one when that goes bad, like Adele's divorce record. Yeah, I'd do a sham marriage for that. Absolutely. Wouldn't you?
Do a sham marriage just to sell albums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philip,
I have
you
a
in on
sham
this?
marriage for a show. No, we don't. This is a real marriage.
I wasn't going to go there and make that joke, but I'm glad you did.
No, this is a real marriage. That's why we bicker like this. It's IRL.
Yeah. Philip, you would do that, though, clearly.
Oh, I would do not again. I mean, it'd be like the third album I released under those circumstances.
Your first album was such a success. There's no way you would do it again. You can't. Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot. All right, let's get into it. We've got a lot of news to get to today. Did Ukraine just declare war on Hungary after it struck Hungary's pipeline? Multiple drone strikes. You know, it wasn't just an accident, one little drone strike. No, it was multiple drone strikes. Tensions escalating. This is the headline this afternoon. Has Hungary just declared war? Has Ukraine just declared war on Hungary? The continued attacks on a key pipeline are hurting an EU member, and he chooses to add insult to injury. This is spiraling out of control. In recent days, we've seen tensions in Eastern Europe take an unexpected turn. The attack on key pipelines seemed to have been just the opening move in what some are calling a dangerous escalation. We're also seeing Ukrainian President Zelensky making some bold demands. He doesn't have any demands to make, but he's still making them. I guess if he has NATO support, like a perpetual $1 billion commitment from NATO countries
Per month.
per month.
Not just 1 billion.
You and I
per month.
paying out of our taxpayer dollars. He wants us to send him $1 billion in perpetuity. And he's also stepping back from some of the previously discussed land concessions like Crimea and other parts of what was eastern Ukraine, Donbass, Donetsk, Luhansk, all of that. What is going on with this guy? Too much cocaine? I don't exactly know. It's time to bring in a seasoned voice who can help us make sense of what's really going on in the world. We're going to talk about that in Israel as well. We're going to bring in Colonel Douglas McGregor to give us his take on whether Ukraine has effectively just declared war on Hungary. Colonel, good to see you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm seasoned enough to comment on someone's coke habits, but I'll give it a try.
You are seasoned, but we'll keep the drug talk away from you. But I don't know what the hell he's thinking. And I don't know why you would want to attack a fellow NATO country. Well, you're not a NATO country, but you're attacking a NATO country, hoping maybe to become part of NATO. I don't know if that's the way it works. Like you make fun of a boy that you're hoping to then turn into your boyfriend, because I just don't understand it. But why is Ukraine continuing to attack Hungary?
Well, two things. Let's keep it in mind. NATO is increasingly, a terminal patient on life support. I don't expect Article 5 will be invoked, and that the rest of NATO will ride to the rescue of Hungary in its collision with Ukraine. I think Zelensky's desperate. He'll do anything for attention, to attract money, anything he possibly can. He reminds me of Trotsky back in 1920, before the decision was made by the Bolsheviks to invade Poland. He predicted the imminent destruction of Poland and unification with their fellow communists in Germany. Well, ultimately, Trotsky was wrong. Poland won the war. The Bolsheviks were driven back in confusion, and Trotsky eventually woke up with an axe in his head. I think something similar probably awaits our friend Zelensky. So these are all acts or expressions of desperation. Now, we need to understand something about Prime Minister Orban. Prime Minister Orban has made it very clear that life and death questions for Hungary that really concern the sovereignty and the independence and the life of Hungary must be decided by Hungarians, not the European Union and not NATO, which is a very intelligent position to take in my judgment. There's no reason why he should surrender his sovereignty to NATO and the EU. I suspect that Messieurs Macron, Starmer, Merz may well have conferred with Zelensky and said, yeah, by all means, let's embarrass Mr. Orban. Let's attack him. He's leading the fight against us and our globalist agenda. So that may be part of the cabal that's responsible for this, but it's not going to improve things for them. And it's certainly not going to distract Orban from doing what he thinks is right, which is to protect Hungary. And he's getting more and more support from within the alliance every day.
Well, what, though, is the selling point of being a part of NATO if your buds won't step up and say, you're kind of not supposed to attack one of us? That's the purpose. Now, President Trump had made this big to-do about getting NATO partners to spend more. What the heck are they going to spend for other than just to donate to Ukraine?
Look, the economic situation in Europe, the financial structure is ready to collapse. We're in bad shape. De-dollarization continues around the world because many countries are wisely distancing themselves from us because they anticipate a spike in the bond market. We've already been buying our own bonds for months and months and months. And the 10-year bond continues to inch upward, as all the bonds do. If it gets closer to 5%, then I think we're in a lot of trouble, because that has a huge impact on the $1 trillion+ interest payment that we're now stuck with. And we have a $7 trillion budget, which is outrageous, over $1 million of which is devoted to defense. Probably another 200, 300, 400 billion go into the Black Ops and CIA and National Security Agency budgets. So you're looking at $1.5 trillion that's all bound up with the warfare state. All of this is going to come tumbling down. This is the 11th hour. I think Zelensky knows that. But the notion that the Europeans can step up and fill the void, which is essentially what President Trump has said, we'll be backup. We'll support from a distance, but we're not going to take the lead on this. I mean, that's effectively what he said about the war with Russia, that the Europeans are the ones that have to come to terms. He's walking away from what is clearly a disaster. He never understood the gravity of the situation. He made a lot of ridiculous remarks. I think he's sobered up, but he, especially after the Alaska summit, and said, that's fine, that's it. This is my last segment in this reality TV show called America Meets with Russia over Ukraine. And it's all going to stop. And I don't think there's anything that's going to keep NATO and the EU together too much longer.
Maybe money at all? I mean, because Ukrainian President Zelensky over the past 24 hours is now demanding that NATO send Ukraine $1 billion every month. He says that Ukraine deserves this because it's defending a critical principle on the European level by resisting Russia. So you and I are going to foot the bill for more money flowing into NATO, into this boondoggle?
Well, at some point, I think President Trump will stop the flow of money. But the sad part is that he really hasn't interrupted the flow that began under President Biden. I mean, you have to ask yourself at this point, when you look at the situation, what has he changed since Biden left office? And the truth is, certainly in the Middle East and in Europe, not much. But the Europeans are in a lot of trouble. These globalists that are in charge of Paris, Berlin, and London are on very, very weak ground. What are they supposed to do if they admit that the war is lost, that they can't sustain this war on behalf of Ukraine? Then they're admitting that everything they said was a lie. And it has been a lie from day one. Russia has no interest in invading and conquering the rest of Europe. Far from it. Nobody in their right mind in Moscow wants to manage the mess that we see in Europe today. In fact, they've insulated themselves from the mess. So is Orban, so is Poland, so is Slovakia. These states don't want anything to do with the catastrophe that exists inside these Western countries. So I think ultimately the whole thing will just fold quietly. Things they talk about, it'll end with a whimper, not a bang. And I think that's what will ultimately happen, because the European states are going to implode financially. I think Starmer and Macron and Merz are all going to be out of a job. End of discussion. Then what?
Where do you think things sit on the peace spectrum right now, and what advances is Russia making on the battlefield from a strategic perspective? Are they going as hard as they ever were, even after the Alaska meeting? Where do things stand militarily right now?
Well, I think something that's very interesting is you've got a lot of Russian special operations forces now operating in the outskirts of Odessa. And they've helped to target all the installations in Odessa that are of any military character or capability. It looks to me as though the Russians are prepping Odessa for eventual occupation. And the Ukrainians don't have forces to do anything about it. They can't protect it. They can't easily control it. So keep your eye on Odessa in the months ahead, because I'd be very surprised if that didn't fall into the hands of the Russians. As far as what's happening on the other side of the river, they're cleaning up. That's the best way to put it. That's something we've never understood. Everybody says, well, it's all about territory. No, it isn't. It's never been about territory. First of all, the areas the Russians now control are historically Russian anyway. And that was always true from the very beginning. And that includes, by the way, Crimea. When I say always, certainly since the 1770s. So that's a pretty long time. It's about as long as we've existed as a nation. So that's not new. The issue, though, for the Russians is they want to control whatever is necessary to ensure two things. First of all, that Ukraine is neutral, and that neutrality is aligned with essentially the kind of treaty that the Austrian State Treaty represents, something which limits Ukraine's military capability and absolutely excludes the possibility that there are any NATO forces on the ground. And by the way, the NATO forces, they don't have much to send. The British would be lucky if they could mobilize 30,000 troops to send somewhere. The French are about the same. So who else is going to show up and send troops in? The Poles aren't going to send any more in. The president of Poland has made that very clear. No more Polish forces under any circumstances will go into Ukraine. And he's got, 3-4 million Ukrainians in his country. He's trying to figure out how to send them back. So the whole business is a sham. The notion that NATO can do anything at this point is absurd. And we are now turning our attention to Venezuela. Somebody pointed out to me, don't you think Maduro looks a lot like Saddam Hussein? Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of resemblance there. That does worry me because the last regime change operation we performed didn't come off very well.
Right.
But the bottom line is, I think President Trump is going to quietly walk away from it. So the place that I worry much more about at this stage is not what will happen in Ukraine. The Russians will determine that outcome. They've already set the tone. President Trump knows that. He met with them and they told him the truth. These are our conditions. They're not going to change. And at the same time, they also made it clear, and I think President Trump agrees with this, that they want good relations with us. It's up to us now to repair those relations and establish a new and better future for both the United States and Russia. But Ukraine, that's a matter now for the Europeans and Russia. And if the Europeans will have nothing to do with it, well, then Russia will take over. But again, who should be at the table discussing what happens with Ukraine and its borders? I think Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and ultimately Germany. You could probably toss in the Lithuanians since they have a modest interaction with the Russian border, but that's about it. Why are the rest of these Europeans even interested? It's ridiculous. They have nothing to say. And that's what ultimately is going to happen. They won't have anything to say.
Well, let's talk about this Israeli strike on the hospital in Gaza because it was a military tactic known as a double tap. For those of us that don't know, that means you strike something, circle back, and hit it again when the medics and rescue workers come in. This was a tactic used reportedly by the CIA under Barack Obama, as well as used by al-Qaeda in Iraq. Now, Israel issued the usual mea culpas, and then they said, oh, actually, no, we did look into it. There was a camera there. So we had to go and strike that in order to get that camera because the camera was filming IDF soldiers. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this harkens to collateral murder, which was the video that WikiLeaks published where U.S. Apache helicopter fires on civilians mistaking a camera for a weapon. Now, President Trump said, I'm not happy about that. But Israel can weather that. They can weather the international condemnations, the press outrage, and then they stall with inquiries, and then they keep striking.
And then they do it again.
Right. So what do you make of this? Is this just, we're going to scream, we don't like it, and they'll keep doing it, and that's what we're going to do next week, too? We'll see you here?
Well, two things. First of all, a precondition for the success of the so-called Greater Israel Project. And at some point, it would be useful, I guess, Clayton, Natalie, if somebody put a map up that shows the Greater Israel Project. But for our purposes today, the elimination of the Palestinian population from both Gaza and the so-called West Bank is absolutely unchanging. They've got to do it. So, and then that's the first thing. Then secondly, remember that from the beginning, the so-called occupants of Gaza and the West Bank were characterized as Amalek. In other words, subhumans, animals, richly deserving of extermination. So from the Israeli standpoint, this is not an atrocity. This is part of the larger operation to kill or drive out everyone that lives in Gaza and ultimately on the West Bank. Now, to go back to the last question about what's going to happen, it doesn't make any difference what the Israelis do as long as they control the White House and Congress. And right now, Mr. Netanyahu controls both of those. Yeah, there you go. That shows you the so-called Greater Israel Project. How can you possibly advance to do a fraction of that in Syria, northern Iraq, Cairo, Israel, and anywhere else unless you eliminate the population of Palestinians that are currently sitting inside your country? So that has to happen. I mean, it's kind of laughable, but you've got to understand something. Netanyahu is the president of more than Israel. He's the president of international financial power and capital that is committed by the United States, to a lesser extent, I would say equally committed by the City of London banks, to the idea that this is the opportunity to establish not just Israeli hegemony and control, but the control of the West, of the oil jugular in Iran, in the Persian Gulf, and ultimately the people that live there. This is part of if there is a strategy, and this is not President Trump's invention, it's a strategy that's been with us for a long time to get control of all the oil and gas that's in the region, because China and Northeast Asia in general, but especially China, are very heavily dependent upon it. So as long as he has control of the White House and Congress, and right now Mr. Netanyahu does, nothing is going to change. Doesn't matter how many of these people you murder. Whatever you do is your affair. The only comment that President Trump ever points out is, gosh, I wish he would get on with this and get it over with. Does that sound someone who is very concerned about the humanitarian disaster on his hands?
No. So he can not be happy about it. The rest of us have to just bend over and take it and just observe.
Yeah, but you got to remember something else. And this is something I've had difficulty dealing with. I talk to people all over the place, and I'm always interested in what they think. And I talk to a lot of Americans. They'll look at me straight in the eye and say, oh, kill them all. Get rid of them. Who cares? And this is a product of decades of systematic.
Who's them? It just people and Palestinians?
Yes, well,
Yeah,
Muslim Arabs
all
in
the
general. Muslim Arabs in general, but especially, the Palestinians that are there. Their view is all these people are exactly what Netanyahu said. Now, when I say they, I'm talking about a substantial chunk of people. I would certainly say at least 1 out of every 3 Americans I talk to pretty much takes that position. Who cares? Get rid of them. And again, that's part of the preparation through the mainstream media. And I know a lot of us that served in the Middle East, and you get different kinds of people that come out of that experience. And one group learns to hate, and that hatred never leaves because they lost a friend or they saw something happen they disliked. I mean, I'll be frank with you. When I was there in 91, the biggest challenge that I had during that war, which was in this massive tank battle that we fought, was getting people to stop shooting when I declared a ceasefire. And there were a lot of people that didn't want to cease fire. Their view was, let's get rid of all of them while we're here. We'll just do it, be done with it. There are people like that, and they don't change. And then there are others that look beyond the hostilities and say, good Lord, what are we doing here? We're not helping these people by killing them. We're not improving their lives. We're not improving ours. We don't benefit from this. There's no strategic payoff for us to go somewhere and kill tens of thousands of people. So you get different attitudes from different people. But the point is that right now, excuse me, I think there are just 1 out of 3 Americans, at least that I encounter, they could care less. And so how much
if you're a military, if you're a pilot, is this taught in any kind of military training? Like the double tap is a war crime. Let's not do it. Shouldn't this be sort of basic? We don't do that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the military strategy. Is it just like there's actually a military strategy to this, or is it just part of the greater Israel project, destroy all of these buildings?
Terrorists of various types and kinds, Irish Republican Army, Arab terrorists, Pakistani terrorists, whatever, have on more than one occasion set off an explosion. And then they wait. And there's another explosion that goes off once the people come in to rescue the individuals that are there. That's effectively what the Israelis do now. And this is because, in their view, these people are all the enemy. Who are these people that are rushing up to help? How many of them are also terrorists? We don't have time to sort it out. So we'll get another 30 or 40 dead, and that adds to the total, and that makes us safer. That's the view. The more of them we kill, the safer we are. That is the Israeli position. Now, I don't like that. It doesn't appeal to me. I never did anything like that. But that is a predisposition on the battlefield. If you take an enemy tank or armored fighting vehicle under fire, there's several out there. You put a round in one, you go to another one, put a round in that one.
Any brave politicians want to stand up and say enough is enough? You have like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey. I mean, I can count them on one hand. There's so few of them. And none of them are president of the United States at the end of the day. Colonel, I want to point out you have a big event coming up here, and I want to promote it for everyone to go. And if they want to see the Colonel live with our friend Judge Napolitano, Natalie Brunel, and at the National Conversation, the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Dallas, Texas. This will be October 4th. So people can scan their tickets right there. There's a QR code right on the screen if anyone wants to go, if you guys happen to be in Dallas or nearby and want to come and see.
And let me tell you, people do want to see the Colonel. We spoke recently together at the Ron Paul Institute, and he had the longest line of people who wanted to take pictures. People really admire your intellectual honesty, and it was really a pleasure to see you're a rock star. I didn't realize that. I should have.
Well, I thought it was because you were standing nearby.
I wasn't. I was across the room. You had your own line.
Yeah, and people in their chat room saying, please, Colonel McGregor for president in 2028. But in lieu of that, at least they can come see you in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
So
well, it's also supposed to be an interactive evening. We want to talk to the audience. We want the audience to talk to us. So we'll address questions. We've got a great lady who does that very, very well. And her name is Olga Ravasi, very well prepared. She's taught at the college and university levels. And of course, you mentioned Natalie Brunell, who's a great financial analyst, a very sharp person. And then the judge, everybody knows him, he speaks for himself. But the idea is that we're going to take questions across the spectrum, from finance to culture to America at home and abroad. And then we want to interact with the audience. We want to know what people think. And we want to do this. If we're successful in Dallas, we want to go to different cities every 90 days, all across the United States, and repeat this. Because we think there are a lot of people out there who, number one, don't feel represented, and number two, don't get a chance to express their views on anything.
Yeah, exactly. And they feel like they're silenced, they're censored and blocked, and they don't feel like they have a voice right now. So again, October 4th. Go see the Colonel, go see Judge Knapp, Natalie Brunell, and the rest. Colonel, great to see you as always. Thank you for your time, as always.
Thanks, Clayton. Thanks, Natalie. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Colonel.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about how the UK government is on the brink of collapse.
Well, the economy.
The economy, right, not the government. Sadly.
Well, the entire country is on the brink of collapse, but we're going to talk about specifically the economy, and we will also talk about, Nigel Farage has just rolled out this new plan for mass deportations. Can it actually save the United Kingdom? We're going to talk about that.
But first, Clayton will tell you about our friends over at Black Forest Supplements.
Right. The swamp and their allies in Big Pharma know this. A healthy, energized population is harder to control. That's why unelected bureaucrats at the FDA are working overtime right now to put NMN in their hands of Big Pharma and out of yours. We've covered this story on the show. NMN is nicotinamide mononucleotide. I'm probably not saying that right at all. A natural supplement which is vital for functioning of 37 trillion cells in your body. It can help reduce weight, cholesterol, everything. Here's Professor David Sinclair from the Center for the Biology of Aging at Harvard Medical Center talking about it on Joe Rogan.
What is NMN? Good question. So let me take a quick step back. Sure. So about 20 years ago, Lenny Guarente and a team of us at MIT discovered a set of genes that controls aging in yeast cells, just brewer's yeast, what you find in beer and bread. And those genes are called sirtuins, and there are 7 of them in our bodies, 5 in yeast. And what they do is they protect all organisms on the planet, plants, bacteria, humans, from deterioration and disease. They're like the Pentagon. They sense when we're hungry, sense when we're exercising, and they send out the troops to defend us. So when you put more of these genes into a yeast cell or a mouse, they'll live longer, between 5 to 20% longer. And so we think that these genes are responsible for the effects of dieting and exercise, which is great. What that means is we can now mimic that with molecules. So NMN is one of those molecules, so is resveratrol.
So NMN works so well, the FDA now wants to pull it from shelves. And look, here's the thing. This isn't about safety, but it's all about profit. I've taken NMN for years. You run faster, you can lift heavier, you think clearly, have much more energy. It boosts NAD, the key to vitality and longevity. And that's also what Professor Sinclair talks about here. Watch.
Get this. So sirtuins need NAD to work. Without them, they don't work. In fact, if you don't have NAD in your body, you'd be dead in about 30 seconds. It's a really important molecule. But as we get older, we lose NAD. So by the time you're 50, like I almost am, you have about half the levels of what you had when you were 20.
So to stay strong and sharp as you need NAD. And NMN is the most effective way to boost that. That's why the FDA wants Big Pharma to control it. And for the next 48 hours, Black Forest Supplements, they've been in a battle with the FDA over this. You can get it. Buy one, get one free right from their website. Just go to blackforestsupplements.com/redacted for the next 48 hours. Get this before the restrictions hit. Don't wait. The link is in the description. Again, blackforestsupplements.com/redacted is the place to go. Thank you guys. I know we had that software issue, or God knows what happened. But thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. Someone asked, have I ever been probed by an alien?
Not that he knows of.
No, I've never been probed by an alien that I know of. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think that guy was an alien.
That was funny.
All right. Well, a new report out today shows the UK's economy is on the brink of collapse. According to The Telegraph, Britain is about to repeat its 1976 crushing economic collapse with soaring debt, borrowing like a man with a gambling problem. The UK is drowning right now, and the only bailout is to borrow more money at ridiculously inflated borrowing costs and tens of thousands of protests all over the UK. What is going on here? Even Russell Brand was talking about this today. UK is basically facing collapse. Jim Ferguson is here. He's a former parliamentary candidate and journalist, independent journalist, and really one of the clearest, sharpest, independent voices in all of the UK. And he's also a founder of Freedom Train International. Jim, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be on with you guys. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for staying up late with us. We know we had some software issues and pushed us a little bit back on time, so really appreciate that. We see all these protests. I want to talk about the protests first. And you have Nigel Farage coming out calling for a mass deportation department, sort of a deportation commission, I guess, that would round up as many people. I mean, is that really at the heart of what's going on here? Talk about these protests and where does the UK sit tonight?
Well, things are escalating at a rapid pace. There's a movement taking place called Raise the Colours, and all across the United Kingdom, in the different regions, in Scotland and Wales and England, people are raising the national flags. And they're really angry about the fact that some of the local councils have been telling people that they're not allowed to fly the union flags. It's crazy. And there is real pushback coming. I think people are getting very, very angry about this sort of dystopian totalitarian censorship and crackdown that the Starmer government is doing. And these protests are getting more and more widespread. In fact, there is a big protest coming on the 13th of September that Tommy Robinson has been heavily involved in. I'll probably be at that one reporting. But yeah, there's a lot going on. People are really fed up with the government. And of course, when they see the spiraling food costs, fuel costs, and all the expenses that people are having to put up with, it is just making them even angrier. So there's a lot of tension in the country right now, and the Starmer government is in all sorts of trouble because of it.
Now, what does the government say that the flag symbolizes? You noticed Elon Musk put it on his X account. And so why are they saying that this is a symbol of hate when it literally is what it's the identity of your borders?
Well, you know, it's actually a bigger problem because the globalist movements don't like national sovereign countries. They've been teaching the young people in the primary schools, in the secondary schools, in college and university, that if you fly your national flag, you're in some way a racist or you're far right. And this is the kind of rhetoric that's been coming out. We now have a two-tier policing system and a two-tier justice system in the United Kingdom. And if people raise their national flags because they're proud of their country and they want to be patriotic, that is now deemed offensive. And people are really upset about it. And so what's happened is within the last week, just 1 week, over 1 million flags of various different types in Scotland and Wales and England have been getting raised. And they're also painting the roundabouts. They're putting the St. George Cross on roundabouts all over the country. It's phenomenal. It's great to see it, actually, to see our flags being flown, but it's bizarre as to how Starmer and his government are trying to take the flags down. It just doesn't make sense, but it's upsetting a lot of Brits.
Well, can you at least make the argument, even though it's a joke, what they're saying is this upsets other people because I can't even make can you explain the BS that they're trying to sell you about why this flag is bad?
You know, there used to be a TV show where you would give an argument, then you had to flip and give the other opposing argument. But no, I mean, there is no justification for this.
It's too hard. I'm sorry.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, it's madness. You know, it is madness. And people are upset for it. But you know something? I wonder if it's been done on purpose, actually, because it's almost like they really want to antagonize the British people, the English people, the Welsh, the Scots, those in Northern Ireland. It's so bizarre, but it is upsetting. But what it is doing is it's galvanizing people. It's galvanizing people. And one of the big issues is mass illegal immigration, which I've said for a long time is by design. It's been done on purpose. It is being done to destroy countries from within. I was speaking in Moldova at the Make Europe Great Again conference there just a couple of weeks ago, and I described it as an existential threat to Western Europe. Thankfully, in the United States, under President Trump, he sealed the US southern border. But the English Channel is wide open. There are record numbers of people coming in. And there are very, very serious attacks on women and children taking place now, literally every single day. You can't go onto social media and not see many, many posts about this coming up. So it's getting, tension is at boiling point.
When you look at, I don't think you can decouple the the mass migration into your borders and also and decouple that from what's happening economically right now. Across the board. Nigel Farage calling for mass deportations as part of a plan for the deportation command, detention for everyone who entered illegally, mass removals. Do you think that this could actually work?
I do, but I think that what you might not be aware of is that there is a lot of division within Reform UK right now, which is what Nigel Farage is heading up. And indeed, a lot of people have left Reform and joined another party that's only just started about 7 or 8 weeks ago called Advance UK, led by my former colleague, Ben Habib, who's a former Brexit Party member of the European Parliament. And he used to be deputy leader with Reform, but he was prevented from talking to the grassroots members because he wanted to reform the structure of Reform UK. Well, they didn't want that. So he's formed his own party. Rupert Lowe has got a good movement going to restore Britain. But yes, there's a lot of people who are calling now for mass deportations of those who are here illegally, those who have committed heinous and egregious crimes, especially against women and children. It's time that they were removed from the country. There can be no half measures. But of course, this has been perpetrated, in my opinion, quite deliberately, not just in the United Kingdom, but in Ireland and, of course, in other parts of Europe as well. I think this is really part of a plan to destabilize and weaken the nations. And what we're now seeing in the economic front is very, very worrying. Rachel Reeves, or Rachel from Accounts as she's sometimes known, the Chancellor of the Exchequer in charge of Britain's finances, is getting it badly wrong and is now talking about having to get a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. You couldn't make this up.
Oh my God! So now you need to get a loan at a high payback rate in order to bail yourselves out from the mess that you're in.
But in the meantime, we're seeing draconian measures out of the finance department in the UK. Things like, oh, we're going to put new taxes on this, that, and the other. So it's the working class that are taking it absolutely up the arse, if I may use a UK word. Right. And now they're trying to change the way you buy a house. They're trying to change pretty much everything. Everything is on the table to take it out of your blood, sweat, and tears, and they will not course correct, which makes me just want to throw a scone.
What was the other thing we had in the newsletter today about they're going to tax an additional...
that's Australia.
Oh, that was Australia. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure that's going to come to the UK next, taxing an extra bedroom in your house. But yeah, right. It's madness, Jim.
It is madness. No, you're right, Natalie. It's the working classes are the backbone of Britain. And the Labour Party used to be the party of the people, not anymore. They've become the uniparty globalists, the same as the Tory party, the Conservatives. They're only Conservative in name only. That's why there is the rise of parties like Advance UK that are offering real solutions. And interestingly enough, Elon Musk has been in direct communication with Ben Habib, the leader of Advance UK. And just for the record, when I came back from Poland, I was at the inauguration of the new president there. When I came back, I was asked to go down and meet them, and they asked me to take on the role of international ambassador. So I'm just giving that out and putting that out there. I've agreed to do that. So I've been working extensively across Europe with people like George Simeon in Romania. I met Marine Le Pen in Paris in France a few weeks ago at a private meeting with her. So there's a lot of things going on. But the patriots are rising. They really do want to make Europe great again, but we want to make the United Kingdom great again. And Elon Musk is taking a big interest in Advance UK. So I would say watch this space very closely.
Jim Ferguson, the great Jim Ferguson. Follow him on X as well. It's Jim Ferguson UK on X. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Thanks.
There it is. Follow him on X. Let him know you saw him on Redacted. Always great to have you here, Jim. Thank you for staying up late with us there in London. We appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Jim. Always a great pleasure.
All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about how the Democrats are willing to go to the mattresses over John Bolton, the Death Eater, John Bolton. So is this lawfare? This revenge lawfare, or is it just time? Also, should you be able to burn an American flag? What does this new executive order say? We're going to parse that out. And is the new Epstein biography by Virginia Giuffre, that doesn't roll off the tongue, is it all bogus? Lionel's going to join us from Lionel Nation. But before we do that, we're going to tell you about our friends over at Lear Capital, because right now our national debt just passed $37 trillion. That, my friends, is a tax on the working class. There is no other way to see it. Interest on that debt is at $1 trillion per year. The only solution they have is to print more money. So it's no wonder the Fed is about to slash interest rates coming up here in a few days, further devaluing the U.S. dollar. Now, Clayton recently spoke to Lear CEO Kevin DeMeritt last week, and Kevin revealed some startling U.S. data. Number one, U.S. debt is accelerating out of control. The dollar is losing its value in the U.S. and on the world stage, and gold and silver are rising for a reason. And in fact, if you had been listening to us all these years when we told you to look into Lear, you would be doing very well right now. You would be very happy, just like we are in our investments as well. Because, of course, smart money is moving. Central banks, billionaires, institutional investors are all moving into precious metals like gold and silver. We started our investments years ago, and it's been one of the smartest, most secure moves we've made for our family and for our savings. It's not a trend, it's a shift. And so you can act now before it's too late. Call Lear Capital. Have a conversation. Literally, I called them before we were working with them as a sponsor and just had a full-on conversation about my goals. They were really knowledgeable, not because they were a sponsor, just because I was interested in being a client. So you can do that too. Call 800-613-3557 or go to learredacted.com to get your free investor kit. One more time, that's 800-613-3557 or go to learredacted.com. No one's going to protect your money but you, so do it now before the next crisis hits. All right, well, something big is happening with warmonger John Bolton. The FBI seems to know that something big is coming, or else they wouldn't have raided his house at 6 a.m. last week. But now, of all people, Democrats are freaking out, saying that this is lawfare. They are defending on MSNBC John Bolton, Death Eater, who has instigated coups abroad and admitted it, left nothing but death and destruction in its wake. The FBI is alleging, we think, because we haven't seen documents yet, that Bolton used a private server to handle classified documents, which is interesting. Ever heard of this lady? But okay. This, of course, means that a judge had to approve the raid, which means the FBI was able to make their case that there was something there to see, and that the element of surprise was necessary. So now Democrats are saying this is lawfare because they raided Trump, because they raided Trump associates and Trump allies. Here we go. This is lawfare. We told you. Where were they in the Biden years, I wonder? Joining us to discuss is Lionel from the Lionel Nation YouTube channel. Lionel, first of all, we have a very important question. How does it feel to get a happy birthday from everyone here at Redacted?
Happy birthday.
Oh my gosh. Honored beyond belief. Thank you for that encomium, that paean. And I understand
You're
there's something
welcome.
about that this particular month and other birthdays from what I understand as well. But
Virgos unite. Mine's in 2 days. That's right.
Indeed.
I knew there was something I liked about you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Happy birthday, Lionel. Great to see you.
Thank you,
Great to
sir.
see you. So,
Thank you.
I think something big is happening with Bolton. When you have all the stars aligning here, when you have MSNBC and the Democrats aligning to protect John Bolton, Yosemite Sam, I want to get my 2 shooters because something's going on here. What do you think?
Well, I think something is going on, and I hope that there's something substantial, and I hope it's not just them taking this patellar reflex where they necessarily just think that whatever it is, whatever the particular move, they just react in a kind of a strange way where they just automatically act in support. It was funny. There was a segment I saw. It was somebody from CNN or something who said before that with the Mar-a-Lago raid, they said, well, this is obviously something. There has to be something there. And for a judge to, by the way, when a judge issues a search warrant, it means basically there's probable cause to find something, which basically translates into he probably did it. It doesn't really mean much. But they went from that to this is lawfare. So I would hope they follow through with it, because let me tell you something. In 200 and whatever days of the Trump administration, we've seen nothing. The only arrests we've seen were a couple of judges at the state court level who maybe helped out regarding ICE raids. So I hope there's something to it. He deserves his day in court. He deserves due process. But this fellow has basically slithered between the lines for so many years. I hope something ultimately happens to him. And I cannot believe the double standard. And by the way, there is lawfare, and you're seeing it also not necessarily just in this, but in defamation and others. This is going to be the year and the era of the courts. Defamation in particular is going to be the way that people get rid, both at the get rid of their enemies, not necessarily at the political level, but even at the internecine social media level. So let us wait and see, indeed.
So you think that John Bolton's going to start coming after people for defamation, and that's how a lot of this stuff will be quieted down?
No, I'm saying that in addition to this, there's lawfare. I hope the Trump administration uses some form of lawfare. I said, but in addition to this, you're going to be seeing loads of lawfare lawsuits between, Candace Owens, and you've got Laura Loomer and others, and defamation is going to be the new. This is going to be the era of defamation and libel. So get ready for seeing not only criminal cases, civil cases, lawfare aplenty, sometimes well applied and others misdirected. So this is the era. But I think
it's undeniable that we saw lawfare against President Trump during the Biden years. And it feels like that DOJ was a bit trigger happy. They pulled the trigger on everybody, indicted everybody, right? They were taking everything to court. It feels like the Trump administration is the opposite. And I guess we want a government that is careful, but is it too much to ask that? I mean, we saw a little girl get in trouble in high school for pushing someone with an IDF shirt, but no one for Epstein, no indictments for any child, nothing. Why?
Well, this has been, very frankly, I mean, I have a great feelings of respect for the president and for this administration, but they have been absolutely pathetic. And what Pam Bondi started with the whole notion, you mentioned Virginia Giuffre and Epstein and others as well. That started off with this incomprehensible nonsense regarding lists, files, documents, logs, black books, all these different ways of saying nothing. We've yet to see. By the way, Epstein is dead. That has been killed. You'll never see anything happen. Nothing will ever come of that. Zero. That was so poorly handled, so horribly. Do you know, going back to Virginia Giuffre, and I'm glad you mentioned this, we still don't know definitively what happened to her. They're talking about, let me use YouTube parlance, perhaps self-harm, but do we know that for sure? Have we seen anybody, has there been anybody looking at toxicology reports, pathology reports, police reports? Do we know anything about this? Absolutely not. So this is, I mean, I don't even want to get started. This case stinks. She is the linchpin, and yet we have forgotten. Gore Vidal said we're the United States of amnesia, and it's true. We have the attention span of a gnat. 1 minute we talk about them, and then they're gone. So sad I hope that we have the same amount of attention that we have for her and her case and her demise as we do for Cracker Barrel and, Taylor Swift and all this other kind of nonsense, which is of no importance whatsoever.
Can I go back I want to talk about Bolton a little bit more here, because just really interesting nuggets are now emerging about this guy. I mean, I've always thought he was sleazy. Every time I interviewed him, I thought he was sleazy. When he ran for president, I thought that this is laughable. This sleazeball, this warmonger is going to be elected president. And so what do you make of the raid specifically, and what do you think that they're working on? And maybe you can just take us through the legal machinations now that are unfolding for him behind the scenes.
Well, from a prosecutorial point of view, I wish there was something more substantive other than improper access to files, whether you used it. It doesn't have a sting. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you had the wrong server.
That's why I smell something bigger, Lionel. I smell something bigger going on here, and my sources are telling me that there is something bigger here. So I'm just kind of, I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, this might be, I would hope, listen, this is what I would love to have happen. I would love to have, and by the way, he's more than just a warmonger, because a warmonger he is the prototypical neocon war profiteer. He is somebody who has this strange idea of doing everything and anything to place our troops in harm's way, our resources, our military, our treasury, selectively. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, why don't you go fight? I mean, I love these people who are really bellicose when it comes to taking our men and women and dedicating them elsewhere. But what I hope would happen was this would be almost the fruit of the poisonous tree. They do this, they have the search warrant, they find out what happens, and then later on, other things emerge. But I hope he isn't his denouement, so to speak, the valedictory of his service is not going to be you held information incorrectly. Remember, there was a CIA head one time who took us a file home, and I mean that doesn't sting. I want to see something similar to what they put President Trump through. But here's the bottom line. I want to see things like conspiracy to collude, conspiracy to hide, conspiracy to conceal. That's what I want. Obstruction of justice. I don't want you just having this file. I want you working with other people, him telling people, don't tell anybody, hide this, cover for me. That would be something a little bit more merit worthy. But we'll see with this. But another thing too, please tell Tulsi Gabbard and everybody else to shut up. Stop going on Fox News. Stop announcing what you're going to do. If you have something about either Russiagate or whatever, just keep it to yourself. Do me just a favor. Just arrest somebody. Friends, let me ask you this. Can you imagine one day where you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden it says breaking news, live from Chappaqua, New York. Hillary Clinton has just been taken into federal custody. You see a drone fly over. She's taken into an SUV. She's handcuffed. She's taken to the Southern District of New York in Lower Manhattan. She's booked and mugshotted and said, the world would come to a screeching halt. The left would have a cataclysmic conniption. They would be frozen. It would be finally something happening. Just do it. But make sure you give it the same coverage that you gave Roger Stone with his 4 a.m. ninja arrest. Yeah. Make sure you cover every aspect of this. And then have another series of these, including Comey and Brennan and others, and keep going. And at least maybe find out who was responsible behind the scenes regarding the attempt on the president's life. Find out where do these go? Where do these investigations go? This case stunk to high heaven. Where our side, if I can be so bold, seems to take the information. We work all of the momentum. We work all of the heft out on Fox News. We get completely tired of this subject, and we move on to something else, maybe flag burning or Cracker Barrel or Taylor Swift. We use up all of our energy, all of our resources on TV, or we go online, or we have memes, or we laugh, or Greg Gutfeld says something. I mean it. That is, Fox News has become our grand jury. That's our court. Say, no, stop it. Stop doing all of this as political theater and actually prosecute somebody. You can do it. They're great inspiration. And there's enough white hats in the Department of Justice, a lot of holdovers who would tell you precisely here's how you do it. But I don't think Pam Bondi and all these other folks have this ruthlessness in them to really go after. They went after the president. They impeached him twice. They were going to go after him for the emolument clause. They went after him and his wife and Melania's underwear in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, nothing stopped them. We just had the case sort of thrown out. This is the $500 million verdict, which wasn't reversed. It was just kind of modified. He has been hit left and right. And you would think this president would be just seething in, for lack of a better word, revenge and retribution. I'm going to get back. And nothing. I don't understand what it takes. I don't take Bobby Kennedy. We went from Mr. Anti-Vaxxer to worried about Fruit Loops. It's like, what is going on here? We go from this ferocious, this is why I voted him in, and we have Pete Hegseth and Bobby doing pull-ups. It's like, what are we doing? What, monkey bars next? We're turning in the Rose Garden into a food court?
Well, Alex Jones just posted earlier today. He said, you're going to all apologize to me when I tell you that tons of indictments are on their way. You're going to all apologize. And I don't know that anyone needs to apologize, but I feel like you. Like, we've been waiting for these indictments. We've been waiting for this movement. We've been waiting for this action. I want helicopters over Chappaqua, and I want Hillary Clinton
We don't want lawfare. We want equal justice under the law. Okay, Lionel, can you hang out for a little bit, because we're going to ask you about flag burning.
Good.
Hold on. I want to tell people. We just put up a poll. There's the flag. Don't burn it. Should you be allowed to burn the American flag? We just put it up on our YouTube channel because Rumble does not allow polling at this stage. So we have a vote up there now. We have a poll up on our YouTube channel. Should you be allowed to burn the American flag?
Not should you do it. Should you be allowed to do it?
Right.
These are two different questions.
Either you're pro-Constitution or you're sort of like anti-free speech and anti-Constitution. So we will see.
You're leading.
I'm leading the witness. But hey, we will see all that in a second here. We're going to get back to Lionel's going to join us here in a moment to talk more about that and this executive order from President Trump. But it is surprising how little we discuss right now the potential effects of Wi-Fi, 5G, and Bluetooth on our bodies. These signals are everywhere. They're not just harmless background noise. They're EMFs, or electromagnetic fields, and research shows they can mess with how our cells work. Did you know that research suggests that EMFs may open calcium channels in our cells? It's like doors that let calcium flood in, which can put cells under constant stress. That's where magnesium comes in. It helps close those doors. It keeps calcium in check, helps your nervous system stay calm. But here's the problem. Most of us don't get enough magnesium at all. And when your body is constantly bombarded by EMFs, your magnesium burn rate skyrockets, meaning you use it up faster than you can even replace it. And most supplements only use one or two basic forms that your body can't absorb very well. That's why I use Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers every day. It's part of my morning routine and my supplements. I love their magnesium because it has 7 essential forms of magnesium, not just 2 of them, it has 7, all designed for real absorption in your body so your cells get exactly what it needs to handle stress. So go to bioptimizers.com/redacted and use that code redacted to save 15%. And they even offer a 365-day guarantee, so there's zero risk. You can try it for zero risk. If you don't like it, just send it back. If you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, you will make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed right to your door. Again, that's bioptimizers.com/redacted and save 15% at checkout. Natalie and I are subscribers to them. We pay for that so that those bottles show up every few, on our regularly scheduled thing.
Everyone in our house takes this every day.
Yeah, every day.
All right. Well, President Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Justice to prosecute anyone who burns the American flag. Now, the White House says this will be punishable by up to 1 year in prison. They said this on Twitter, but that is not actually what the executive order says. The executive order orders the DOJ to prioritize enforcement of existing criminal and civil laws when people have engaged in flag burning. Now, the most conservative justice on the Supreme Court, Antonin Scalia, explained years ago how burning the flag is a constitutional right. Watch.
If I were king, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag. However, we have a First Amendment which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged, and it is addressed in particular to speech critical of the government. I mean, that was the main kind of speech that tyrants would seek to suppress. Burning the flag is a form of expression. Speech doesn't just mean written words or oral words. It could be semaphore. Burning a flag is a symbol that expresses an idea. I hate the government is unjust, whatever.
if you're not sure, then in the end, and no one knows the Constitution better than you do, doesn't it come down to your personal interpretation of the Constitution? If it isn't clear-cut, which it clearly isn't, you in the end have to make an opinion, don't you?
Well, don't forget this person has to be convicted by a jury of 12 people who unanimously have to find that he was inciting to riot. So, it's not all up to me. It would be up to me to say that there was not enough evidence for the jury to find that, perhaps. But ultimately, the right of jury trial is the protection.
Okay. So J.D. Vance said that, well, maybe Scalia wasn't right here, but that this order still is within bounds of the Constitution. So joining us to break this down is Lionel from the Lionel Nation YouTube channel. Birthday boy, what do you make of this? First of all, does the order even violate our constitutional right for free expression and free speech?
No. Listen, can I just listen? Don't tell anybody I told you this. But Trump is the troller in chief. He does this stuff knowing that it's not going to happen. But he drives these people crazy. Why, my dear friends? To draw them out of the woodwork, to have the Democrats supporting burning the flag. Whatever he says, they're against it. So he says, I'm going to do something. I'm going to have this order that basically says, hey, would you maybe look into this? Could you review the... What does this mean? I don't know. Could you look into magic tricks? Could you find out whether David Blaine is really doing whatever you want? Okay, fine. Look into it. Pam Bondi, I'm sure, will issue binders with what she's looked into. But here's the bottom line. He knows it. I know it. He's doing it just to drive these people crazy, to have them come up. Because let me tell you something. This is vexillology, the study of flags. And we go berserk over the flag. People swear they died. They died for this flag. Not the Constitution, but the flag. Now, before we get all crazy, in the Johnson case, in the Eichmann case, in the Flag Desecration Act, which was overturned in 2 5-4 decisions, my dear friends, the only reason it was found unconstitutional to criminally prohibit this is because the numbers were off. Had those 5 been switched, or if there's a new group, guess what? It's completely constitutional to prosecute somebody. There's nothing magical about these cases. Remember, Scalia may have thought this, but Sandra Day O'Connor, Whizzer White, Rehnquist, they were dissenting. So this, you don't know what these people are going to do. Now, what do I think personally? Of course. Do yourself a favor. Go into the Flag Act. It's Article 4, 4 U.S.C. Section 1. Or anyway, it's like the rules of decorum. It's not mandatory. And look at what you can and can't do. This may be a desecration under the act. You can't wear flags, flag lapel pins. Putting a flag on anything other than a military casket may be against the law. Having it at night without a light, having it tattered, having it at anything less than a 90-degree angle. The rules, you can't believe the rules. Every 4th of July, when we celebrate the flag, we desecrate it with napkins and bandanas. And so the people who are arguing about desecrating, they may not want to burn it. But if I were to basically use this as toilet paper, I mean, I think that, using your arse comment, Natalie, which was filthy, by the way. Filthy. I loved it. But
I have American flag leggings, so I have worn the flag on my arse.
But listen, there is absolutely positively, to me, this is freedom of speech. This is an expression. It goes without saying. But if 5 justices say, oh, no, it's not, that's it. And with this crew right here, I think a lot of people really honestly, intuitively feel that this wonderful, this thing on a pole, that's a cloth, that's a flag, I think people would have no problem with this. I think it's ridiculous. But go back to what Trump is. He's a genius. He comes up with these things. Listen, this is a guy who goes into Washington, D.C., federalizes him. Hell, he's in the same city. He says, bring in, murder rates drop to 0. People are clapping. Maureen Dowd is applauding this. What does he make the Democrats do? Basically, argue against law and order. He's a genius.
It's hilarious. You saw him all over. I mean, the mayor of Chicago was just on MSNBC this morning arguing against adding additional 5,000 cops to the streets because, you know what, crime is fine. I mean, it's madness. You're right. He is the ultimate troll. But I guess from a legal, you're a constitutional attorney. You're a constitutional expert. So this would have to be written into law by Congress, right? So if I were to go out and burn a flag, are the police going to show up at the house?
No.
Other than if it started a wildfire?
No, it works like this. Somebody says, somebody burn a flag. Burn a flag. Everybody, bring it to us. This would be the Supreme Court. Bring it to us. Because remember, the Supreme Court, you have to wait. They may be sitting there saying, please bring us a flag case. And nobody gets arrested or it never makes its way up. But the next time you see this happen, I promise you, they're going to grant cert. Some guy somewhere, maybe I hope some blue-haired thing with studs or some illegal, something that's non-obvious. It'll make its way through the courts. There'll be maybe a split decision where the court has conflict jurisdiction, and they take it up. And they answer it in the affirmative that we have based upon, and they'll, listen, I can tell you right now, they will give you the history. Alito will probably draft it, and it will be the history of the flag and symbolism and this, and the times are changing. And before you know it, like that, it becomes, again, legal to prosecute, where it's not protected speech, like that. Guaranteed. There's nothing magical. The Constitution is whatever it says. These folks gave you Dred Scott. They gave you Brownlee, Plessy against Ferguson, separate but equal. Remember, the same Constitution gave you Dred Scott. The same Constitution. Our country gave you the Fugitive Slave Clause. There's nothing magical about it. We go through periods of schizophrenia where we might say, you know what, this is different. It's whatever they say it is. We went from Roe against Wade being absolutely sacrosanct, and then Casey, and then all of a sudden in Dobbs, boom. And the next thing is, remember, I'm telling you this, because I've been pretty good with this stuff. Remember, somebody's going to bring a case involving, there's going to be a case involving sodomy or some particular sex act. And Alito is waiting. Bring this because he's going to show you that there is no substantive due process guarantee regarding sodomy or a particular type of sex act. That's next. And they are waiting for this. Not that there's, not that you can't allow that, but that the Constitution will not protect it. Because remember, what this would be saying was, the justice would be saying, there is no constitutional protection if you were to burn. Now, if you're in a state and you were to allow it, go ahead. If you want to disallow it, go ahead. Leave it up to the states. But if you're asking us whether the federal Constitution prevents somebody from being prosecuted for exhibiting the ignition and the combustion of Old Glory as a form of prostitution, of a protest, then in that particular case, they'll say, no, there is no protection under the federal Constitution. Again, Montana, Colorado, Georgia, do whatever you want, but don't look to us. That's what they said in the Dobbs case regarding abortion. They said, we're not prohibiting abortion. We're not saying you can or can't have it. Just don't look to us. And what they'll do is, it'll be a nice way of saying, and this is where the conservative types love to say this, it's states' rights. We're not making a statement one way or the other. We just don't think the Constitution has any say in allowing, I mean, after all, if the state of New York or Colorado wants to prohibit this and prosecute, far be it from us to interfere, wink, wink. That means get them. So remember, the Constitution, the feds aren't saying do it. They're just saying we're not going to intervene. We're not going to do anything to get in the way of it. Go ahead and do it. But personally speaking, it's obscene. Everybody watching, read the flag statute and see how many times you see a flag at night, a bank that leaves it up tattered, or and there's this magical rule that people think apply where you call a Boy Scout to burn a flag if it hits the ground. Or what are you talking about? This land we live in, where if you drop the flag, you've got to burn it, and you got to call a Boy Scout. I don't know where this comes from, but it's this old wives' tale, this mythology. But Trump is a genius, and he's going to remain steadfast, and he's going to, and Fox News is going to go crazy. I mean, can you imagine, what do you think they're going to say? Sean Hannity, who has no room, he has every kind of lapel pin you can imagine. And remember, there's an inverse proportionality between the size of the lapel pin and what they know about the law or history or the Constitution. So the bigger it is, the less they know.
They're overcompensating for that, to be sure.
Yeah.
Lionel, great
and
to
multiple
see you.
countries. And when you see multiple countries, be on the lookout. Ukrainian, look up any other combination of U.S., be on the lookout.
Run.
They're putting you they're putting you on notice. Sellout is what they're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, one more time, I want to wish you a very happy birthday, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, and to you in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks, Lionel.
What
Great
does
to
our
see you.
flag say? What does our flag? What does our poll say, boys?
We're going to get to our poll in a second. We're going to answer our poll and look at that in a second. And we're also going to take some of your super chats, because Meat Puppet has some super chats here, when we should be allowed to burn the flag. I like Zalata's comment here Zayada from Canada says, if someone burned my F Trudeau flag, it would be a tragedy, not a crime. F Trudeau flag hanging up on the house. So we're going to get to that. But
first, we're going to tell you about our friends over at Chapter, because millions of seniors are on the wrong Medicare plan and don't even know it. And in fact, Trump's Department of Justice recently sued 3 major Medicare brokers for claiming to be unbiased when they weren't. They were steering seniors secretly towards plans with the biggest kickbacks for them. Chapter does not do that, and that's why we partner with them. They don't work for the government or big insurance. They work for you. They are the only unbiased Medicare advisors that search every Medicare plan nationwide to find what's best for you. They'll even help you if you're hit with the wrongful medical bills. That's real advocacy. And they've saved the average senior $1,100 per year. In fact, one of our good friends used Chapter and is saving thousands of dollars per year going forward. The best part, it's free, and they can review your options in under 20 minutes. So give them a call. It costs you nothing. Call 202-655-5811 or go to askchapter.org/redacted. Most people in our audience say that they wish they'd done it sooner. So connect with the only Medicare advisor that we trust here at Redacted. You'll be glad you did. Askchapter.org/redacted. Okay, the poll we put up asks if you should be able to burn a flag. Not should you do it. Should you have the right to, if you were a constitutionalist, if you were king for a day? David, are you able to?
I have it here. Yeah.
Oh, Clayton has it.
So 2,000 of you, 200 of you have so far voted on our YouTube poll, because Rumble doesn't let us put up a poll. But there's way more of you watching on Rumble. There's like 30,000 of you watching, or 25,000 of you watching us on Rumble. So Rumble, please start adding polls to Rumble. That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun.
Way more of you watch our show over on Rumble. So should you be allowed to burn the American flag? 65% of you said no. You should not be allowed to burn the American flag. 35% of you said yes. You should be allowed to burn the American flag.
All right, you free speech absolutists.
I'm one of those weirdos with the flag. I'm not a weirdo. I just absolutely do not want it touching the ground. I don't want it. And because our new flag that we just got caught on a branch of the tree,
ripped.
and it just ripped today because of this windstorm. So I've got to go and buy a new flag today.
Yes, that must happen.
That really bothers me.
Is it based on material, or because what's the difference between a shirt that's an American flag or an actual flag?
Well, that's what I was
in flag form.
Yeah, good point.
And that's what I was going to get at was of the people that say no, you shouldn't be allowed to in that poll. How many of them have American flag paper plates or napkins,
right.
or are they purists, or is it just that one desecration? But the others
and
are
how many
okay.
of them were like American flag tank tops and yank them off their body to jump in the lake and throw it on the ground?
Okay.
Yeah, right. Like paper
Is this
plates.
what you're up to?
Well, this
recently?
David wears he has an American flag like leotard that he wears when he does wrestling and stuff. Like that's
but I have to like
that's
jump
pretty
to take it off so it doesn't touch the ground. Like I have to get it down to my ankles and I have to jump in the air and pull it off really fast so that it doesn't touch the ground.
That's respectful of you. I love it. Okay.
Yes.
I love it. What does our super chat say? Our super chat is from Meat Puppet. Says the only time we should be allowed to burn the flag is if you're going to retire it. Which is actually, I think, in our official documents of how to retire a flag is that it can be burned. Again, I'm a free speech absolutist. I don't think that, my mind goes to what if your child was sent to a pointless war and you feel, and they died, and you feel like you want to burn the flag, like a grieving family should absolutely have the right to do that. I don't want anyone prosecuting grief. I don't want, it means something different to someone else. And I think that flag stands for our absolute freedom, which would include, I don't want to see it burned, but I think that the right to do that is I think the Supreme Court got it right.
Flying the flag upside down. It's like it's a sign of distress or whatever, that you're not happy with your government. So like, are they going to say, well, now you can't fly it upside down. Sure. You can't burn it. You can't where does it end?
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said, yeah, your feelings don't get to outweigh the Constitution, like of free speech.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And I think that the court got it right. So anyhow, okay, well, that's our show for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, I want to remind you, we have a newsletter. If you go to redacted.inc, we write this every day that the show comes out, Monday through Thursday. Oh, and I don't understand that super chat, so thank you for that.
It's not a super chat, but sorry.
Okay. I don't understand
I just
that
trying to
comment.
click on them so fast because they're flying through, and I just clicked on a random one.
Okay, you distracted me. I was trying to tell you about my beautiful newsletter. We write it as a companion to this show, so hopefully you subscribe to it. It's totally free. Go to redacted.inc, put in your email address, and then you will just get it. Nothing's upsold, nothing is cross-sold. It's just something that we want you to have references to original source material so you can read and study for yourself and have a bit of our voice before we come to the show. Also, you might have noticed that we don't do a show on Monday during the summer, but we will after Labor Day. So next week is Labor Day holiday. We will be off, and then the week after that, we will start back up 4 days a week. We appreciate you sticking with us. This 3-day-a-week schedule has been nice to crawl our children during the summer vacation, but we'll be back 4 days a week starting the week after Labor Day. So thank you for all of that, and thank you for being here today. We really appreciate that. You want to say goodbye?
I do want to say goodbye. Thank you guys for watching us, and have a great night. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for subscribing.